Happy fall, Sarah.
Happy fall.
Here we go. I actually was like digging through my closet today to try and find something that was kind of fall-like because I do the whole switch over, the wardrobe switch, where I take,
Yes.
just because you and I live in kind of the same area of the world in the
Yes.
Pacific Northwest, and we do have extremes in temperatures.
Yes, we totally do.
But I finally found something that was kind of fall like. So, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for fall. Gonna get there. I'm gonna switch my clothes out. So, tell us a little bit about where you are at in this season of life.
Well, right now, I feel like I'm still kind of transitioning from welcoming a newborn home, kind of that newborn bliss. And then also in my head thinking, oh my goodness, school is starting and we're getting into that routine. And what does that look like? And what does it look like with a newborn? And so I feel like I'm kind of tackling two different arenas, but we're finding a good pace in that and kind of getting ourselves settled into that.
Why don't you tell everyone about your family, people who may not know about you, Sarah?
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So I am married to my husband, Tim. We live in the Pacific Northwest, like Krista mentioned, and I have six little boys. So we just welcomed our sixth little boy recently, and they range in age. My oldest is 9, and then the youngest is a pretty fresh baby. And it's kind of fun, actually. The 9-year-old and our newborn happened to share a birthday, which was kind of a fun little surprise that nobody expected, but happened. And so, yeah, so we raise our six little boys here. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm a work-at-home mom. I'm a homeschool mom. And then Tim works with his family business as well. And I feel like we're just in this really great season where we're thriving in life and we're still kind of learning and adjusting, but really just enjoying having our little ones home and enjoying this season.
Okay, do you have people stop you like every 5 seconds and say, "Oh my gosh, look at all those boys. You have your hands full." I mean,
Yes,
I'm assuming that happens on the regular. What do you say? How do you
all the time.
respond?
My take on any comment, because I feel like this is a common thing with big families, is they always want to have like a good comeback, like what's my comeback? I want to tell people. And I'm like, you don't need a comeback. Just give a big smile, give a joyful answer. And those people usually, no matter how they said it, if they said it in like a negative way, maybe they said it in a positive way, but if they said it in a negative way, typically you'll see their even facial expressions like turn around right away and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's wonderful. So when people say that to me, I'm usually like, oh my goodness, we do. And it is the best. Our house is so much fun. And people are like, oh wow, yeah, that's what I meant. And I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah. But I try to keep it more of a joyful response just to because having a big family is joyful to us. Having lots of children is joyful to us. And I never want to, lean into that negative side of maybe what people are trying to, say.
Yeah, I've seen that discussion online, especially around single gender kids. If you have a lot of the same gender, and people asking, "Oh, were you trying for?" And so I can
absolutely.
And people get so mad. So I'm in those conversations because I have 4 girls, and yeah, but hardly anyone now ever says anything to me. When they were little, they said things more often, but I never have taken offense because, like you, I think most people are just like overwhelmed on our behalf. And your kids are really close in age. Do you have multiples in there?
No multiples. They're just all 21 months apart. So basically we're really good planners. So it just happened that way. But I agree with you. I think, and you know what I think? I think most people just want to make conversation. I think that's what it is. I don't think people ever come at you like, I want to say something horrible. I think they're just looking to make conversation. And that's an obvious conversation starter. And so that's how I view it. Like, you're just trying to make conversation and I'm going to make conversation back. And so when you keep it light like that, it keeps it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sarah, we are doing a fall reset, as you know, series, and we're really looking at like, okay, we're kind of going to get our rhythm back after being in summer. And I think a lot of us have felt like we've been out of rhythm for a really long time because of COVID. And yes, we are very much still in the throes of COVID. We're not pretending like we're not. However, I think there's a lot of normal life that is coming back. And so would you say, some of the fall rhythms that are most important to you?
It's funny. I was just telling my mom this the other day and just saying how I feel like I'm in summer and I feel like I've been craving that, like, get back into a routine, get back into a rhythm of fall. And she was like, yeah, I think there's always like an ebb and flow of that. Like when you're ready and your kids feel ready and you feel ready. And so I think for us, a lot of what that kind of transitional and rhythm pace looks like is switching into school, settling into a more, I don't want to say slower paced because school isn't slower paced, but not always being in the car, on the go, going to this park, going to do this thing in summer, going to accomplish this summer bucket list item, have you. And so I feel like for me and for Tim and our family, really, it's kind of settling into our home a little bit more, hunkering down a little bit more, and embracing that routine, day-to-day routine that we have instead of kind of a more spontaneous type of living.
Seems like that would be a little bit of a challenge with the age range of kids you have, because you have some kids who are probably pretty independent and others that are very dependent on you. How do you take that into account when you're starting to look at school, for example?
Yeah, I have really more in this last year started to embrace this idea of bigs helping littles. And I feel like a lot of what we incorporate into our day as parents, and what I try to, it's always a learning curve, is trying to teach that we help each other. Mommy helps you, but you help your little brother and you help do this. And I have seen, just even in this last year, just a really cool shift in our older ones of wanting to help. They tend to pop up, the baby's crying, they pop right up and go check on him and try to put a binky in, even between Jude and Hudson, who are my oldest. Jude is 9 and Hudson is 7. A lot of times I'll see Hudson say like, I can't figure this out, mommy, on my paper. And Jude will pop right up and read the instructions for him. And, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. And in those glimmers of those moments, I'm like, this is the family dynamic that I want. I heard someone say once that people need to stop looking at families like they were looking at like a pie. And they said, some people look at families like every time you have another kid, a piece of the pie is taken. And they said, we want to teach culture to look at the family as every time you have another child, a piece of the pie is added. And so it becomes a full pie and it kind of like creates a teamwork. And so I feel like what we're really going for in our home is a teamwork that we all work together, and that when the bigs are helping the littles, it functions a lot better. And it helps me a ton as a mom.
I love that. Yes, I could not agree more. And I have a Hudson too. So
I love that.
I love Hudson's. I love Hudson's. Okay, so I have just a question for you about like even how you manage your own time. I mean, you homeschool, you run a big social media, you are taking care of a big families, right? Just apart from homeschooling, you're just like getting food on the table for everyone.
Yeah, and that's most of our day, Krista.
Making sure laundry is done, right? And then you're writing a children's book, which we're so excited. We're going to talk about more later.
Thank you.
But I mean, just give us a snapshot into what that time management piece looks like for you.
Yeah. I'm still figuring that out as we go sometimes. I feel like it's always a learning thing. But I have to set aside blocks of times for certain things. Like, for instance, you mentioned my social media. I've recognized with that's not the first thing in my life, right? I have children, I have a family, like you mentioned, but it is a big part of who we are and what we like to share. And so what I've realized, like, for instance, within that is that I have to kind of give myself blocks of time to work on that where I'm not taking away from my other children, and taking from their time to do that, where it's a family thing. And so I have worked I think it's good to recognize whether you're like this morning person or whether you're this night owl, and you can kind of call those your power hours. And I've just designated that like, hey, I am an evening person. So when the kids go to bed at 8, why my husband and I are relaxing from whatever 8:30 to 9:30, that's a power hour to get some social media stuff done. It doesn't disrupt my children and it doesn't disrupt my husband. Now, if there are nights when we want to have time together, I'll forgo that. But having set aside blocks of time in my head, at least if not on paper, really helped me. Homeschool, I usually aim for a 10 a.m. to lunchtime. If we can be done by lunchtime, everyone's hungry. We need to be done by lunchtime. But, I try to start by certain times. And I find that when I can kind of block schedule my days like that, everyone knows what to expect, and it helps keep us on pace a little bit more with flexibility, of course.
Yeah. Wow. So are those your homeschool hours done 2 hours a day?
Yeah, usually 10 to 12 is when I try to get my homeschool done. And then sometimes I'll see like my older one, sometimes the older two, but not really. He might have a worksheet or two that's seat work to be done in the afternoon, but that's usually done independently. And he can do that while his other brothers are napping, so I usually, I can't even say middle ones anymore because I'm trying to space where all 6 are, but my 1, 3, and 5-year-olds still nap. And so when they go down, I also feel like that kind of 1 to 4 p.m. time in my day, we can get a lot done as well. Because just the older two are up, I can hold the newborn, however it works. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good system. And I love that short homeschool day, right? Because then it's again, like the power hour, it's the power 2 hours, right? I love that idea. I think it is powerful, just that we can, as we think about our fall, that we can maybe do more in shorter time bursts. And that is encouraging.
I think you are right. Yes.
Because
I think you totally hit the nail.
Focus, right? If we're focused on that work and not distracted and not trying to do all 7 things at once, which I am the total guilty of trying to do that. And then, I mean, we've heard for so long that women are born to be multitaskers in comparison to men. But I think in recent years, research has come out that has said multitasking actually isn't that efficient. You get more done if you focus. And so I've really been trying to work on that focusing, and lists help me, because if I don't look at my list, then I'm off doing, thinking, cooking, reading, whatever that's out there. I have to keep going back. I don't know, maybe I have undiagnosed ADD, but I have to keep going back to the list, because the list is like, nope, on task. You said you were going to work on this particular group of tasks right now. Right. Do them.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you do like a handwritten list, or are you like an on the phone list, or are you kind of in your head list?
Well, I wish I could show everybody my piles of paper right now. I am very much a handwritten list person. Yeah. I don't know. There's something about that hand to paper that helps me get everything out. And I've also found that write down every single little tiny thing that needs to get done.
That's a good tip.
If you're carrying the mental load, because then you can subconsciously or consciously say, it's on the paper. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I just have to stick to the list. So I'll even say, fold laundry, or things that are obvious, that are always true of my day, but they don't get done. But if they're on the list, they're more likely to get done.
Yeah, the list bosses you. Bosses you. Have you read Atomic Habits? Have either of you read Atomic Habits?
I've never read that, no.
Oh my gosh, it is a must read. In fact, I have considered paying my college kids to read it, because they're so busy with reading their college stuff, but it's that important. Like, it's such a good book. And what he says is that it's the cue. You have to trigger the cue. So like, for example, if you want to go to the gym every day, or if you want to work out every day, the cue is, he used this example of this dancer in New York who she calls a cab every day to come get her. And she said, it's not going to the gym that's the habit. It's actually calling the cab, because I know he's showing up for me and I got to get in it.
Right.
So anyway, it's so fascinating. I love that stuff. But setting us up for success. Okay. So Sarah, this is my question for you. How do you, like, with all the things that need to get done in a big family, how do you set things up for success? How do you involve your kids? What systems even do you have, or do you, that kind of set your family up to get everything that needs to get done?
Well, I think you kind of mentioned what I want to talk about, and that's involving your kids, because I have realized very quickly as a mother, the more kids I have, I can't get it all done. I personally cannot do it all. If I did, I would never eat breakfast. I would never eat lunch, and I would never eat dinner, because I'd be busy serving and doing everything for everyone. But I think one of my things I've been trying to embrace from a book I actually read is this idea of long-term vision parenting. I am not just raising children, I am raising future adults. I am raising people who are going to be married someday. So what does that look like when you take a task like laundry? If I, as a mother, am always doing the laundry for my children, they're going to grow up and become a teenager, and well, mom always does the laundry. Mom always does that. But if I'm saying, hey, you need to put your clothes in your bin and you need to put them in, I'm teaching my 9-year-old right now, here's how you set it up. Here's the buttons you press, and then you need to fold it. In my head, I'm not doing that as a discipline for him. I'm doing it as a discipline for being an adult, that when he gets older, his mom equipped him to do the laundry. And his mom equipped him as a husband, as a college kid, as whoever, to do the laundry. And so same thing goes, I just think, throughout our days. Every morning, for instance, in our family, everyone has a morning chore. Now, this can be something very, very simple. For my oldest, he sweeps the entire floor surrounding the kitchen. And we rotate these chores. For my 5-year-old, he picks up all the pillows, puts them on the couch nicely, and makes sure no blankets are strewn around and they're all in their baskets. That's a task he can do. For my 3-year-old, he pulls out all the chairs for my 9-year-old to sweep, and he pushes all the chairs back in. So these don't have to be like earth-shattering chores, that we have to fight tooth and nail with our children for. They can be simple tasks, but just that in the morning, you can imagine in 15 minutes, our floors are swept, my couches look nice, pillows are up, chairs are pushed in, I'm doing the dishes while we're doing that. And all of a sudden, our common area is nice and clean. And like you said, Alexandra, like we can move to the next task now on our list and get something else done. And so I just find that incorporating my kids, even in the little things, even if you think like, gosh, that is not going to help, you are, one, equipping them for adulthood, for when they grow up, because you're raising a future adult, and you are, two, involving them in your everyday family life. And, I just think even that, as a family, you start to feel more tight knit because everyone's involved.
So good.
Yeah. I like how you said that you broke, and maybe you weren't thinking this, but in my mind, I'm thinking this, that you broke a chore up into 2 tasks so that the 3-year-old could participate. Because in my mind, I would think, oh, that's just part of sweeping the floor, is moving the chairs.
Yeah.
And of course, the 3-year-old can't do that chore. He can't sweep, but he can pull up the chair. So taking a little bit of something and making it a pull out so that a younger child can do it. And so we can apply that principle no matter how old our kids are. As things, chores and responsibilities in general get bigger, we may feel like that's too big for our child to handle, but we can take a portion out and say, okay, I'm actually going to give this to you and this little bit to you because you can handle it.
Right. And it's funny, I heard a blogger say one time that I follow, her kind of tagline is kids are capable. And I love that. And I think when I keep that mentality in my forefront, kids are capable. My 1-year-old, he throws away all the diapers in the house. This is no joke. Like, I change any diaper. He is so trained now. He runs up to me, holds his hand out, takes the diaper and goes and puts it in a garbage somewhere in the house, because he is used to the fact that he throws away diapers. And that is, so you're just taking small things, but those small things will build, they'll turn into big things, and those big things will turn into habits, and those habits will turn into well-functioning adults that we're trying to raise.
Amen. What was that book that you mentioned about?
Boundaries with Kids. I love that book.
Yeah,
very simple read. And I think no matter what parenting style you are, they take a very holistic approach to parenting and just equip you with some great, great tips for moving forward. So I love it.
Yeah. And then who's the blogger you follow that the kids are capable?
That was Jordan Page.
Oh yeah, I know Jordan Page.
Yes. Yeah.
I was all like, okay. So here's my next question. Mealtime. Do you have a system for meals in your house?
Yeah, I think, breakfast. So all the homeschool moms can say amen. We do first and second breakfast because kids are hungry. I think my kids, I'm not sure they would survive out in the wild, without second breakfast. But when I, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not quite a morning person. I'm working on it. I'm really trying to get a little bit better. But when the boys wake up at the different times they're allowed to wake up, they kind of have different times. They come out and my husband makes them breakfast before he goes to work. This might just be cereal. It might be just a piece of toast. It might be eggs, whatever it is. And then usually around 9:15, 9:30, we have kind of a second bigger breakfast, whether that's eggs, pancakes, whatever. But no matter what mealtime it is, I use the same principle as I kind of do with the morning chore. Everyone has a little task. So Mondays and Wednesdays, Jude gets water for everyone, or all the drinks for everyone for those meals. Tuesdays and Thursdays, Hudson's in charge of all drinks. Chase, my 5-year-old, he can set out plates. Crew, he's my 3-year-old, he can get forks and spoons and knives. He knows how to do that. He can reach, we make everything accessible so they can all reach that. And everyone just kind of has their task. And those things, taking the load, it takes a load off me as a mom. I mean, I know some moms might say it's just setting the table, I can just toss a plate out. But again, it's more than that. It's raising capable kids and future adults to know that, hey, I know how to set a table. I know how to get stuff out. I can be hospitable and I can serve and prefer others. And when Jude's getting drinks, he's getting everyone else a drink before himself. So I think that's just building in them even that something of service and hospitality as well, which is a really important thing to Tim and I as well.
Yeah, I really like that. And you can do that forever, right? Kids can do that forever, all ages, and hopefully carry that into their own homes, like you said. So, okay, give us maybe a couple of your favorite fall go-to meals.
The boys, we have this thing in our home called our favorite chicken. It probably has a better name, but the boys loved it so much the first time I made it that Hudson, he dubbed it, he's my foodie guy, and he dubbed it, he's like, this is my favorite chicken. And the way he said it, I think at the time was favorite, so it's always, I always think of it as that, like mom's making, when he asked, what are you making? I'm like, oh, it's our favorite chicken. So we get the boneless, skinless chicken thighs, see if I can say that right. And I marinate them in some buttermilk, ranch, garlic, salt, and paprika. And then I put them on a big sheet pan. And I am a big advocate of like sheet pan meals. If we can throw everything on a sheet pan, less dishes for mom, and it's easy to do. I throw that all on a sheet pan. We pop that in the oven. We bake that. And then we usually put it over white or brown rice and then a simple veggie like green beans. And that is just kind of a classic meal you'll find around our home all the time.
I love that one. That's unusual. I haven't heard that one. I love it.
Yeah. And then another one is, we call it Italian chicken. And this one is fun because every kid loves noodles or pasta, right? So I feel like trying to incorporate noodles or pasta into something, but chicken, this is great because you take canned tomatoes with the herbs. You know how the canned tomatoes will say like canned diced tomatoes with Italian herbs. You take those, again, sheet pan covered in foil, dump it on that. You just lay the chicken right on top of that, and that's going to turn into your sauce. And it already has the spices in it, already has everything in it. I salt it a little. We bake that. And then at the very end of baking, we sprinkle some mozzarella cheese on top. And it comes out, and all the tomatoes have kind of created this juicy sauce under the chicken. The cheese is melted on top of the chicken, and we put that on top of noodles, and that's our Italian chicken. And it's a pretty easy weeknight meal as well.
Those are both so great. I love those. I absolutely love those. Those are so easy. Like I know everyone's going to just take that and run with it. So we'll put those in the show notes. That's great. Awesome. Okay, well, Sarah, you have to tell us about this children's book. So what is the children's book about, and where did the inspiration come from?
The inspiration, so the children's book is called I Grew With You, and it's just a story that follows the journey of a mother through pregnancy to meeting her child from conception all the way to delivery. And then there's kind of a special page after that. And when I woke up and I took a pregnancy test last November. And that day I had a meeting. I had been reached out to a children's book publisher saying, hey, is this something you'd ever be interested in? And I was like, you had no idea that this has been like a passion of mine since I was a little kid. I've always wanted to write a children's book. So I had a meeting that day and I was supposed to pitch him 3 ideas. I had the 3 ideas ready to go, took a pregnancy test, found out I was pregnant with our 6th child. And as I was kind of showering and getting ready, I think it was just the Lord, but I just felt like I had this idea of no one's ever written a book about pregnancy for children, like where they can look at it and say like, oh, mommy went through that. Oh, her belly grew. And so I kind of tucked that away in the back of my head, went through my meeting, pitched the ideas, and we were kind of ho-humming, and I didn't really feel passionate about any of them. And I said, hey, I have this one other very random idea. It just came to me today. I told them, and he was like, that's the one. forget the other three. Like, that is the book you need to write. There is a need for that. Like, there's nothing like that. And so I Grew With You was born, and it was fun because here I was about to go through pregnancy. And so I got to think of the things. Okay, we decided to lay it out by months. What happens in month 1 on that first page? What happens in month 2? What happens? Oh, month 3, you're usually craving snacks. Oh, month 7, you're usually really tired, and going potty 5 times a night. So it was fun to incorporate all these kind of humorous and quirky things, but also serious things into this book where a child could read and say, oh my goodness, look at her belly getting bigger. Did your belly get big like that, mommy? She likes to eat all those snacks. Did you eat pickles and ice cream, mommy? And so I think it's a fun, playful, but also really beautiful look at how motherhood comes to be through pregnancy. And I am just so excited about it. And I feel like in a way, it's almost a more endearing book for the mother, one of those books that she'll read and be sentimental to her, but it's also fun enough for a child to read, and the illustrations are beautiful. And I'm so excited to get it in the hands of people when it launches.
Well, it sounds like a great book for a family when mom is pregnant and they have other kids, because maybe you have a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old and they don't remember the last time mommy was pregnant, maybe because it was with them or just they were too little, to kind of give a what to expect. Okay, this is what's going to happen, and it's going to happen over these months, and to give kids kind of a visual of that so they can talk with their parents about that.
That's so right. Because how many times are kids asking, like, when's the baby due? And I know, like, my little ones would say that, like, is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? No. We've got a long ways to go.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And children's publishing is so unique because it is really different from, the nonfiction publishing or whatever, that we usually talk to people who are on that track. And I know that writing children's books are just a whole different deal. So did you have a big learning curve, and how did you push through that?
Yeah, I think so. Naturally, I've always loved writing, and I've always loved rhyming. So right away, I thought, I want this to be a rhyming type book, a lullaby type book. And so that part came a little bit naturally, but my goodness, I did not realize how much goes into it, because you're dealing not only with the words, but you're dealing with illustrations. And, you can get real nitpicky real fast with illustrations. And so, you're dealing with all that, but even in the words, like, I like to rhyme, but that doesn't mean I know about cadence and, like, tone, and, like, making sure they have the same beats. And so there were so many nights I was sitting there going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 syllables, 1, 2, 3, 4, and, like, saying through each one, making sure that sounds right as I write it out. So that was fun too. And kind of partway through the book, one thing I wanted to say that was really special to me, and again, I felt like it was a little bit of the Lord just giving that inspiration, but everything going on in our world, what everyone wants is to see people be diverse and inclusive. And I really realized, like, hey, this could be a book where you just see kind of illustrations of me going through pregnancy, and that could get really boring really quickly. But I want a child to look at this book and see their mommy. I want them to say, oh, that kind of looks like you, mommy. And so we made a decision early on, and I'm so proud of it, that this was going to features like 9 different moms in it, moms of different shapes, sizes, ethnicities. And I think that's what makes it even more special, is that a kiddo can turn the page and say, hey, that looks like you, or that looks like me. And I am just so excited. So I can even show you, like, I have the book right here with me. I know people listening can't see, but you'll just have to wait till it comes out. But you'll see on the very first page, you see a mommy, and this one kind of looks like me. I'm showing you. She has red hair, and she kind of looks like me. But then you go down here, and you see a different mom and dad, and she looks totally different. And I just love that people are going to turn the page, and there's going to kind of be that surprise of different mothers. And I think it'll really tie in just the beauty of motherhood and how every woman walks that pregnancy journey so uniquely, and they were so uniquely made to do it, and that they'll get to kind of feel a little glimpse of that through the book.
That's great.
Yeah,
those are cute illustrations too. So did the publisher have the illustrator?
Yeah, he kind of did a search high and low, and he found this illustrator through social media, and she was just a joy to work with. She I mean, she just does beautiful illustrations like you kind of saw a glimpse of, but she was a joy to work with. I think she kind of captured just the beauty of the whole thing all the way through, and with the gentleness of the pictures too. And I'm so thrilled with what she did.
Oh, that is so fun. I love it.
Yeah.
Sarah, it's
Thank
so
you.
unique, so unique.
Thank
Well,
you.
congratulations. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Okay, well, our final question for the fall reset is, what are 2 of your favorite fall traditions that cannot be missed?
Absolutely. Okay. First one, hands down. I know people are pumpkin fans, but I'm going to start with apples because that is like one of our favorite things. And we actually have a friend locally who owns apple orchards. So we get to go out and we get to pick apples at their apple orchards. And we take all of our friends, we all go, and then we bring them all back. And the following day or weekend, we have an apple pressing party. And we have a big apple press, and all the dads do one part of it. All the moms wash and clean the apples. All the kids run around and drink their bellies full of fresh apple cider. And we press tons of we usually press about 50 gallons. And then we split it up between all 3 of our families. And we have our freezers full of pasteurized homemade apple cider. And it's like, I can't miss it. My husband said this year, I said something, he said, well, you had a new baby. Are you sure you want to do that? I was like, we cannot miss this. This is a must do. So that is for sure my first one. I don't know if you guys are apple cider fans, but it is.
Oh my gosh, no. Well, you and I being in kind of in the same area, apples are our thing.
Yes.
And so we have Apple Day. Like Apple Day is our fall tradition. We do a whole day. We do press apple cider with some friends on a vintage apple press.
Oh,
which
cool.
is amazing. They've invited us into that. And I mean, it is so fun. It's so special. Yes. But we also have Green Bluff, which is really close to us. And they every Friday they do fresh pressings, so we can run up there. But it's like people, if you have not tried fresh pressed apple cider, oh man, you must find some this year, because it's not, we're not talking the grocery store. Like it is like drinking an elixir. It's amazing.
You don't even drink that much because it's so rich and so delicious. Alex, do you guys have apple ciders or apple mills around you?
No, but I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so I can taste it as we're talking. It is not like the grocery store for the rest of the country. It is not.
Yes. Yeah, it is so delicious. And I would say that my second one, now I'll move into pumpkins, because this is although apples are fun for the kid, we go to a really tiny little family-owned pumpkin patch each year, and they have little activities like a bounce house and a little zip line and a big tube slide and all these things. And we have been going since they opened. I believe 7 years ago when they first opened, and my boys know it like the back of their hand. They love it like the back of their hand. I'm the mom that has like the picture from each of year in front of the sign that says how tall this fall, and it shows all their growth. So it's been a very fun tradition for our family. And my boys actually just the other day were like, when are we going to the pumpkin patch? And I was like, well, the pumpkins aren't even grown yet, so we got to wait until they get there.
It's kind of like the baby. Is it tomorrow?
Yes, exactly. So those are our 2 favorite fall traditions. We cannot miss them. I won't let my husband talk me into missing them. And they're very fun for our family.
Oh, that is so great. Well, Sarah, this has been so much fun to spend a little time with you today. We are so happy to know you and to meet you. And
oh my gosh, well, you guys are gracious hosts. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and we will so look forward to your book coming out, and be excited to share that as well.
Thanks. That means a lot. Thank you.
All right. Happy fall, Sarah.
Happy fall.